Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today's video is going to be a little different from most of my videos. It's not going to be Warlock based. Today I want to talk to you about the current state of WoW, patch 11.0, 0.5, whatever it is now, and a bit about why the game is sort of slow at this point. Now, I want to say I think that Warcraft is a great expansion. I enjoyed launch. The raid was good. Dungeons are fun. The world events have been sick. I think it's good. I've had a good time playing it. But I feel like in the mid to late parts of every patch, whether it's been 11.0, 10.2, 10.1, 10.0, even like Shadowlands to a certain extent, a bit less though, things become pretty slow, and the game just sort of like, I wouldn't say falls off, but it doesn't maintain a level of like interestingness, whatever that's the word, that it did, I think, at least for me, in like WoD. I mean, even though it was a bit of an odd expansion, in Legion, BFA, so on and so forth. I think a lot of that's due to like M+, gearing, alts being very friendly, the Great Vault and all that. So I want to hit on that stuff today in this video, maybe draw some attention to it, and maybe just in general, hope for some changes in 11.1, because I want the game to be exciting, interesting. I want to play the game more in the middle of a patch and the end of a patch, and I still want to do that. But I think with the systems that are currently in place and the lack of like iteration upon certain systems, it's become very stale and frustrating to play the game in the way that I would like to mid patch and late patch. I'm not talking about borrowed power or AP or anything. I'm talking about playing alts and the Great Vault and M+, so on and so forth. Today, this video, we'll talk a little bit about that stuff, cover it. I want to know y'all's thoughts as well. Throw it down below in the comment section because I'm very, very curious. And let's just get it going. Now, the first thing I want to hit on is the Great Vault in its current form and things that might be able to be done to change the Great Vault to make it a better system. Now, if you played this game back in Battle for Azeroth and things where you just had one chest you opened every week and what item was in there is what you got, this is a much better version of the Great Vault comparatively to what it was in BFA. It's evolved over the course of Shadowlands into Dragonflight, and now we are here in the War Within. The changes that were made in the War Within, basically they removed the PvP row here and added in the World Activities row, which is very nice for gearing alts, for like champion level gear, even if you do delves, right? You can pull a handful of hero items out of this section on your alts. Tier can populate in here as well. Tier can populate in every spot, which is very nice. And when it comes to like early gearing, the vault feels great. You can fill all the world slots by doing delves, super easy, fast, good to go. Dungeons being, I think it's 1, 4, and 8, whatever it is, feels fine as well. And plus, we'll get to that in a little while. And the raid actually being 2, 4, and 6 feels very good too. The first 4 bosses, the first 3 are very easy to pug at this point. You can even pug Roshan with relative ease, making it so you can get 2 vault slots on an alt, or even like on your main character if you want to pug Mythic. That feels very good. I think one of the problems, the first one when it comes to the Great Vault though, is that it might just be a bit more for me, or I guess people that raid compared to others, but like in general, I think it loses relevancy very quickly. Now, if you're filling your Great Vault every week with like Mythic raid slots, 8 M+ keys, all 10 or higher, there's a decent chance you'll have an upgrade somewhere, whether it's like a secondary set upgrade, something along those lines, but it loses relevancy quickly in like a mid part of a patch because you're probably decently geared at a certain point. You might have a hero slot like this, or 2 you want to replace, or you're looking for that rare chase item from the vault, whether it be Antrik, Ring, so on and so forth. But for the most part, the vault loses a lot of relevancy mid-patch. But I think it's lost it even earlier this time around, and that is due to magnificent jeweler settings. Now, you've typically been able to take 6 golden doubloons, whatever it's called, and buy a socket from the actual vault. You still can, but the fact that you can just buy yourself the auction house, which is a pattern from I think Silken Court, to socket both your jewelry, your rings, and your neck, means you can only really essentially socket a helm, bracers, and a belt from the Great Vault. That's 3 sockets. I can tell you, there's somebody in guild that has like 6 sockets in their bags already because they don't have anything else left to do with their tokens, their coins. They've gotten to the point where they've gotten most upgrades from the raid, and albeit I know that maybe you're raiding at a higher level compared to others, but whether you're raiding only heroic, only mythic, only doing a certain level of keys, I feel like not having the option to spend those coins or sockets on, or doubloons, whatever they're called, on sockets, because you've already bought a good bit of them, lessens the value of the Great Vault. Now, I don't think you should get rid of this, but I think there are ways to elaborate and expand upon the Great Vault when it comes to actually using your tokens here, your tokens of merit, at this vendor. Now, obviously, the Spark is fine. probably one of the more powerful things early on is a spark here, half spark at least. I wouldn't mind if these actually ignored the crest cap. Maybe make it 4 or 6, whatever, and give, like, you know, gilded and hero ones, whatever they are, and have it actually ignore the crest cap, similar to what, you know, renowned ones do. But the two big things here, I think, number one, adding a way to add tertiaries to your gear. For like maybe at a certain point you just don't need any more sockets, so you can take 6 of these and buy a tertiary. You can buy avoidance or leech or speed or indestructible, whatever you want. Maybe you can only put it on a certain few pieces. Maybe it goes on, like, you know, tier pieces only. Like, you can limit it to some extent, so you're not running around in the next tier a full leech on a healer, something, right? But having a way to put tertiaries on your gear would be strong. It'd be effective. It'd be fun too. Little incremental ways to gain more value on your gear to keep you engaged in the vault, doing more options to get, you know, 6 coins a week would be good, I think. I think another great option you could do for the Great Vault would actually be to maybe make it, you could probably make it like, probably need to make it like 12 of these, you know, coins here, unique, all 12, right? Make an item that allows you to take an item, let's say my sack brood here, right? To take an item from whatever track it's on to the next track. So if I have this sack brood at hero, 6 out of 6, let's say I have 2 bad vaults, 2 weeks in a row, I have 12 tokens on me. I can go to the vendor, say, hey, I have 12 tokens. I'm capped out. Give me this item. This item I can use in my sack brood, take it from hero to myth. I have to upgrade it, you know, to myth, like 6 out of 6, but that would be, I think, astronomically massive when it comes to keeping the Great Vault relevant, because there are so many items at M+ that have niche abilities, or, you know, like trinkets, sack brood, changeling, unique items, weapons, whatever, that people want at max eye level. It never feels like you can get fully BIS gear with your BIS sack brood, whatever, unless you just straight up just RNG roll a sack brood one of your slots here. I've gone multiple patches with, you know, like a hero version, a non-BIS version, but BIS trinket from M+. I just don't roll it. And that's like a crazy amount of RNG, but making it so you can control that RNG and eventually guarantee that you can get an actual item that you want that's BIS from M+ at myth track, albeit for 12 coins, I think it'd be more than fine. You can buy sockets early on, buy tertiaries, and if you have 12, take an item from hero to myth, or even champion to hero, whatever you play at. You can take it from veteran to champion, whatever you want. One track to the next, I think would be great for the Great Vault personally. The last thing I want to hit on for the Great Vault, honestly, is like, I think this is more of a gear thing, which we'll get into in a minute here as well, sort of a transition in a sense. The fact that you open myth 1 out of 6 gear from the Great Vault feels pretty bad. I believe you opened 3 out of, well, I think it was 2 out of 4, something like that, maybe even 3 out of 4. I think, possibly. It might even been 1 out of 4 in Dragonflight. But the fact that they've taken myth from 4 out of 4 max to 6 out of 6 means that it's taking 30 more crest to upgrade, you know, from 4 to 6. And on top of that, like, saying, cool, I opened this awesome item, but I have to dump a whopping, let's see, 15, 30, yeah, 75 crest into it when my weekly cap is 90. It's pretty insane. Making the Great Vault start at like, even like 2 out of 6, but likely 3 out of 6 would be great. Maybe you can make plus 12 start at 3 out of 6 and M+ if you want. That'd be okay too. I mean, you can still get like myth gear at doing 10s. A plus 12s give rank 3 out of 6 in the vault. Maybe there's that if you want to do something like that. I think there are a handful of ways to change the Great Vault, whether you add in the gear upgrade item from hero to myth, whatever have you. Add in a tertiary avoidance leech item, right? Increase the actual myth eye level of the vault. And like we talked about, sockets, I mean, they're going to lose their relevancy with this being, you know, item in the game, but I think that's okay. I think the bigger thing, though, is trying to maintain relevancy from the Great Vault, mid patch, late patch, when people are, you know, maybe getting to the point where like, it's getting a little stale. I'm not logging in for my 1 key a week. Why not do something like that? Keep the Great Vault relevant. That's one of my biggest things when it comes to making changes for 11.1 and beyond. Let's talk a bit though about gearing, because gearing is also very important and plays a bit also in the Great Vault. Second general category that I want to hit on here for when it comes to, well, you know, just mid to late patch stuff is gearing. Now, I think that Blizzard made a handful of changes to the gearing system when it came to Warcraft's launch by increasing Myth's track to 6 out of 6, which we hit on a minute ago with Great Vault stuff. But you can also just get, you know, Myth gear from the raid. If you're raiding Mythic, you'll get Myth gear to drop, and upgrading from 1 out of 6 to higher takes a lot of Crests, right? You're looking at spending 15, 30, 45, 60, 75 gilded Crests, which are limited to 90 per week. 75 of those 90 are going from upgrading one piece from 1 to 6, which when you have a plethora of them, it takes a exceptionally large amount of crest. I have currently, I'm capped at 1170, and I still have pieces I can upgrade. I have my cloak, I have my sack root, I have a ring from Anshrek, which I guess will drop at a higher eye level, but you get what I'm saying, right? Now, I don't think experimentation is bad when it comes to trying to increase, like, the longevity of the gearing grind and things in World of Warcraft. I think people capped out very early on in tiers like Aberrus. Gearing is very, very fast. Mirrodin was a bit slower, but still, gearing is pretty fast. But I feel like we've gone maybe a bit too far in one direction, where a lot of my friends just said, hey, I hit 635, whatever it is, 630, I just stopped playing. I don't care enough anymore. I'm going to come back next patch and have 630. That's fine. I'm going to replace that gear with a blue from the new zone. You know, whatever, it is what it is. And obviously, that's a bit excessive, but it does sort of feel like we've gone a bit too far in the direction of, you know, this is maybe a bit too much of a grind compared to what it was in Dragonflight in certain tiers. And I think a lot of that's due to the fact that we have Myth 6 out of 6 on gear. And also the fact that the crafting vendor, wherever he is here, takes a whopping 90 gilded crests to craft one item at mythic level. Now, I think it was 60 in Dragonflight, and that seems fine. That seems fair. I know when it came to early mythic raiding, like past the first couple weeks or whatever, people made staves and stuff with 2 sparks and all that. We didn't craft anything for a while past our first craft because it costs so many gilded crests. It costs 90. That is literally an entire week's worth. When the cap increases, you know, every week, it increases by 90. It is an entire week's worth of gilded crests to make one item. And most of the items you wanted to make, once you made like a staff, were very like a very little value, like a belt or bracers or boots with a lesser embellishment on them, which is just not worth committing 90 gilded crests to. A lot of players took their heroic crest from just Anshrek and said, hey, we're just going to make a heroic item on bracers with embellishment on it. That's okay. I had that for a while too. But even now, when I need to get Roshan on cloak, I have a hero one on still. I don't want to spend 90 gilded crests, which takes what, I don't know, 6-7 dungeons to run or a full raid clear, you know, for a 4K upgrade, whether it's on a cloak or bracers, or if you're making an item later on to a tier. I was debating making a chest for Anshrek progs. It was the biggest raw gain. 90 gilded crest feels bad on an item that I'm not gonna keep around for a long time, is not bis, and just feels generally awkward. So I think a big thing is we can reduce this to 60, and it will make things feel much better next tier, in future tiers when it comes to crafting, making gilded crests feel a bit less restricted. To a similar extent, I'd be curious to hear their stance on Myth 6 out of 6 and, you know, just how that went. I think a good middle ground for Myth gear being 6 out of 6, maybe you make a handful of items 6 out of 6, maybe like tier. You can make like your tier pieces, or I guess those tier slots, like helm, shoulders, chest, gloves, legs. Maybe you can make those 6 out of 6, but things like belts, boots, rings, bracers, you can probably make these 4 out of 4 and have like a bit more of a longer grind when it comes to gearing, which is probably their goal. People playing the game longer, you know, mid patch, late patch to gear up more, but not be like, yo, it's week, I don't know, week 15, whatever it is now, with the expansion coming out, I'm still not done. We're getting into like PTR should be out for the next patch by now, but it's Christmas time, so it's like, I think a good change would definitely be drawing back a bit on the 6 out of 6 system, and also looking at the crafted cost of gilded crest. I think that would go a long way for crafting. It wouldn't make the grind feel terrible. The last thing, brother, I don't know why these are in the game. I think the Crest system, once again, is actually just good on its own. Crest almost feel like Valor, in a sense, back in the day. You could take Valor and upgrade gear. You could do whatever with it. They're similar in a sense. I don't know why Valorstones are in the game. Mid to late patch, I have plenty of characters swimming in resources or swimming in Valorstones I don't need anymore. But early on, they feel incredibly restrictive, and it feels super good when you loot an item from the raid. This is an upgrade. Week 1, week 2 of the raid. But now I gotta go farm Valorstones. I can't upgrade my gear. even though I have the crest for it. And it's not like Valorstones are limited, right? You can go do dungeons and farm them, I guess, essentially infinitely, as long as you don't go past the cap. It's not like you're limited on Gilded Crest or Crest and Valorstones per week. I mean, they're essentially uncapped. It's 2K, but you have to go farm them infinitely. Or you can farm them infinitely, but it's a chore. Let's go run normal dungeons. So I just finished raiding Mythic. It just feels terrible. Or let's dig 10 bajillion holes in the dirt for wax week 1 of the patch to have a bunch of Valorstones on the side. Valorstones just needed to go. The Crest system on its own, I think, is actually pretty good. Having the 4 different ones, normal, heroic, mythic, and whatever the other one is, right? But Valorstones are, in the nicest way possible, I think a generally useless restrictive currency that doesn't need to be in the game at this point. So yeah, there's that. Get rid of Valorstones. Look at maybe bringing this back a bit. Certain pieces maybe 6 out of 6, others could be 4 out of 4. And also, I think in general, you could very well just increase the actual amount of like raw levels you get from the Great Vault. You can make the Great Vault give once again 2 out of 6, 3 out of 6, 4 out of 6 for higher keys, and make it 12. Just in general, even when it comes to 10s, make it drop 2 out of 6, 3 out of 6. It's okay. People will still play the game. They'll probably play it more, honestly, by lessening the grind, bringing it back a little bit, and honestly, making alts a bit easier to play in gear. Section 3, alts. For those that don't know, this is Ronnie Coleman. This is my ult. This is my prop paladin. I played him a lot. I actually beat the mage tower for prop paladin before it actually became difficult or easy before they nerfed it. I played him a lot in WoD, even into Legion. He was like my co-main with my warlock. If you watch my streams early on in BFA, I basically had a character of every single class. I tanked. I even healed on one character. I had a bunch of DPS, and I greatly enjoyed opening Great Vaults and gearing them up. I played them all in WoD as well before I streamed. I think it was very fun being able to gear alts in a sense through my main through various systems in WoD and things of the sort. Now, character gearing, I think this is the biggest turnoff, at least when it comes to a lot of my friends I've talked about. I literally asked them about, like, hey, why aren't you playing the game right now? And they said, man, my alts are around 630. The crest grind's not good. I want to play, or sorry, my main's around 630. The crest grind ain't great. I want to play alts, but brother, I log into my alt. I need to gear up through keys. I just log out. I feel the exact same way. Ronnie Coleman hit 80 about 3 weeks ago. He doesn't have any gilded crest. The cap currently is 1,170. I think you get 12 per dungeon. Let's say Ronnie Coleman runs, I think it's 8s or 9s, I don't know. Whatever he runs, he's an alpha. He'll time every one. Even if I run every single dungeon for gilded crest, if I time every single one, it's going to take 98 dungeons. 98 Mythic Plus dungeons to max out his gilded crest. And my main is maxed out. My main's still not fully geared. I need probably about 120 more gilded crest on my main. That's not including the Weather Harbinger crest grind, the normal heroic ones to grind through that. Just the general gearing process. Crest acquisition is so incredibly subpar right now. I want to play my alts. I had an army of alts for a long time. I want to play them. But honestly, when I log into them and look at their gear, he just hit 80. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I want to play the game, but when I log in and see my alts, I just say, I don't want to play anymore. I log out. Just don't play. And that's not good for the game. I understand that early on, gearing through your main is not, probably not Blizzard once. But when we're in like 0.5, getting into a 0.7 patch, and like, dude, no one's playing really, man. Like, please make it so crest are easier to acquire. Make it so like in a 0.7 patch, even 0.5, honestly, who cares at that point? You can send gilded crest, whatever crest, from your main to your alts. Warbands are a great thing. One of the best things the game's seen since probably M+ and Legion. Warbands are phenomenal. Make it so you can trade crest from your main to your alts in a later part of the patch where it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Maybe you can keep the cap in. It's fine. You can trade narrow bar fineries. Why not be able to do a gilded crest, right? But it would make playing alts so much better. So much more exciting. I wouldn't want to like, yeah, I have no drive to level characters now because I can't gear them, right? I don't want to pug 130 keys. I don't want to dump 500,000 gold on a raid carry. I just don't want to do it, right? I want to play my characters, but I don't want to spend months gearing them up. And it feels like if I don't gear them from day one of the patch, they just fall behind. And when I log into them, oh, I have a massive slog ahead of me to try and gear through grinding 100 plus 9 or plus 10 M plus keys. And you damn well know I'm going to deplete a third of them. You're doing 130 plus keys to max out your gilded crest. I'd rather just not do anything else. I'd rather watch paint dry, stare at the wall. That sounds miserable to anybody, right? That's only for one character. I had like 9. That's like 1,500 keys. Brother, I don't know if the whole population of WoW is running that much at this point. This patch, like, it's so many. I want to play my alts, but it feels so incredibly restrictive, right? With Myth 6 out of 6, the Crest grind being as awkward as it is, and all that. Now, I think a great way to address this, besides being able to send Crests across alts and stuff, make it so Gilded Crests, like, just drop more. Just have things drop more Gilded Crests, right? You can lower the level of keys. I think it's 8 that gives Gilded Crests. Make it 7 or 6. Who cares? Double the amount of crests that drop from M plus from the raid. You can remove like the restrictions on conversion stuff over here, whatever, and just make it so you can just play the game, right? Make it so you can play the game. You can double the amount of Valorstones, double the amount of Gilded Crests that drop. Make them easier to acquire so people can play their alts. They want to level characters. They want to gear alts. Leveling through the anniversary event's been great, but I hit max level. I don't want to spend 20 days grinding plus on an alt. I don't want to do it, right? I think honestly keeping players engaged in playing alts is probably the #1 way to keep players, unless you're grinding M plus at a higher level, which we'll get into in a minute here, engaged in the game in a mid-tier and late-tier part of an expansion. But brother, no one's playing their alts right now. Some people are, but my friends have all said, I want to play my alts, but I'm just not playing because I log in, excited to gear my character up. I go run 2 keys, we deplete one, I get no gear, I got 10 crests on me, and it's been 2 hours, an hour and a half. Brother, I understand. I don't want to do that either. I think a serious look at how punishing it is to play and gear alts, especially if you're leveling them now, haven't maintained them since day 1 of the patch, needs to be done. Because that is like a great way to keep players engaged in playing the game. Let them play their alts. Honestly, gearing through your main character is fine. You can even delay it until 11.5, 12 point or 11.05, 11.1.5. The middle part of the patch where the raid's cleared for the most part from like the higher end guilds. You can start sending some crests to your alts from your main. That's fine. It would keep me playing the game more than I am now. I just log into my alts and like, I want to play this character. I love tanking on him. Man, I'd rather just not grind 1,000 dungeons, So I think the biggest thing for like keeping the general player base engaged in this game, when it comes to like 11.05, just mid to late patch cycles, is taking a good look at how alt gearing, leveling gearing, and just general alt, I guess funneling, whatever you want to word it, gearing, and just general alt maintenance is currently, because it honestly has probably never been worse in a sense. Oh, and just to clarify, I do know the achievements there at 639, I believe, that like lessens the amount of Gilded Crests you need in these characters. I know, I get that, but even that being the case, the vast majority of the player base is not going to be 639. You can make it 633 or whatever it is, and that'd be helpful, but like the achievements there, but it's way too high for an average player who wants to play a handful of alts. It's still too high for me. I killed Antrak a month ago. So let's take a look at this and make it better for 11.1 and beyond to make the game even more exciting for players to play alts and, so on and so forth. And the last thing I want to hit on here is Mythic Plus. Now, I am not a world first M pluser. I run 10s, 12s, all that. I get the urge to run higher keys every once in a while. A couple weeks throughout the expansion, let's run M plus grind score. I'm not going for title. I don't have a group or anything, but I enjoy doing it with chat, people on the stream. Just in general, I enjoy doing it. Before I streamed like in Legion and things, I pugged to probably about like, 15-ish eye level, 16 eye level, or 16 key level, whatever that is now roughly. And it was fun, but my general drive for M plus has definitely lessened over the years. Now I think it's probably more of a me thing comparatively to others. Some people love M plus, and that's great. I'm happy for you. Glad you want to push for it. Legit, I'm not really down to play the game 7 days a week. I want to be able to chill a little bit. But either way, I think that when it comes to M+, I've heard a lot of players say that it's never been any less exciting. I'm not talking people pushing world first keys, doing MDI, TGP, all that kind of stuff. People doing average keys doing 10s for their weeklies, doing 11s, trying to get into the 12s and stuff. The step up from 11 to 12, I have never seen more of a step up than that ever in the history of this game. I feel like when it comes to M+, and it was much worse early on in the season. I feel like, though, one thing that really needs to be looked at in M+ is key depletion. Blizzard put out an article or a post about a week ago saying, hey, we banned a bunch of players that were leaving a lot of keys. Essentially, I mean, they were depleting keys for whatever reason early on. Obviously, if you're leaving keys a bunch and they caught you, let's be honest here, you're probably not, chances are pretty high you deserved it, right? You deserved the ban. You're not leaving because a key's, dead at 2 hours into a key. You're leaving keys early and being toxic. Now, when it comes to key depletion, right, there's a threshold that you have to find of what keys can deplete and what keys can't. I don't think making it so keys will never deplete at any rank is a good idea. That could be a thing they want to do, but I feel like Blizzard has made it so that, like, basically 11 and below is like, you have like the lesser affix from Xalatath. 12 and above is where things get much more difficult. It scales more, things hit harder, so on and so forth, right? Now, if you made it so keys at a level of 11 and below never deplete, that would be, I would assume that'd be pretty attractive to a large portion of the player base, right? 11 and below, you're not really pushing keys or anything. I mean, there's some sword to be had for, myself there as well. I don't really run M+ right now, as you can see. But you're not getting into that territory of like, all right, this is where the big dogs roll, plus 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 at that point, right? And at the same time, if you're in a coordinated group, let's say you have a 17 City of Threads, whatever, I have no idea what city is at this point, but let's say you have a 17 City of Threads, have 12 and higher keys still deplete, right? So if you get that, key that you can push in your group for like a legit world first or a score or a really high, really high finish, you're not just going in there and pushing the same key over and over. Maybe you barely miss it at the end. Oh, run it again, 17. We barely missed it, run it again, 17. First pull scuffed, run it again, 17. I think you still want to maintain the essence of like pushing keys and getting that key. And, all right, we got to go in here, ready to go. If we scuff it, that's unfortunate, but we had a shot at it, right? You don't want it to be like, you don't want it to be so these high teams can come in and just straight up, pull the same key at the same rank over and over and over. People are doing 10s and 11s, even below that, man. They're not MDI heroes. We're not looking to push, world first, intergalactic gladiator of M+, man. We're just doing keys for weekly stuff and chilling, Personally, I don't really care if they deplete a whole lot. It is what it is. But I feel like for the average player, removing key depletion would be a very large step in direction. I'm drinking some water, not editing it out. And making M+ more attractive and exciting. We've all been in a group where you're playing with a pug or somebody and you have one bad pull, they just leave. Bricks the whole key. And it feels bad. It feels terrible, whether it's your key or somebody else's. Maybe it's your weekly 10. Maybe it's your first one. Maybe it's your 7th one. It feels bad, right? If that happens in a setting where 11 and below don't deplete, that sucks. Unfortunate. Find another DPS. Go again. It's no big deal, right? But at that 12 or higher threshold, once again, they begin to deplete, right? Now, you could say, oh, well, that'll maybe make somebody, it'll make it easier to run weekly 10s and all that, but I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't. I think making M+ below that ranking of 12 where you have like that, okay, this is where the big dogs roll. Easier to access for the average player to do things with. The keys don't deplete anymore. I think would be just a great step for M+. Now, when it comes to other things about M+, you can get into a lot of stuff here about the change to kicks, or if you stun a mob, it'll recast, all that kind of stuff. Just like how they've changed M+ to be very punishing with kicks, interrupts, and CC as needed, and just the general changes to M+ that's happened over the past couple expansions. You can get into that and talk about that for an hour and a half. Jack's made videos on that, which are great. People that run M+ more have more passionate opinions about it than I do. I typically get to about 3.1k, give or take. I haven't cared at all this patch, man. I run a bunch of Tina Scythes, some Orakaras, fill my vault, have a good time with chat. That's basically it. I'll finish this off with 12s and 13s for next patch, I'm sure. But I haven't really felt any less drive ever in the history of M+ than I do now to get on and do keys. I think for me personally, it's a mix of just like, hugging, not having a team. That's my own issue. I'm talking more like on just the average player's POV. Key depletion feels like a mechanic that shouldn't be in the game, even based on the direction the game's going in general, how it's been changing the past few years. And something that I think Blizzard should look into a lot to try and remove or at least alleviate key depletion from the lesser difficulty 11 and below keys. Leave it in 12s, y'all want to be punished in there, go for it. Hey, whatever you're into, it's fine. I don't really care. But, you know, for the most part, key depletion to some extent needs to be looked at and likely removed for just the betterment of the overall player base and their general M+ experience. And the last thing I want to hit on here, very briefly, is a system. Hear me out before everybody judges here. A system similar to Dinars or Bullions, whatever they're called in Dragonflight towards the end. A way to target items in the raid after a certain period of time. Now, I'm not saying Dinars or Bullions need to be in from week 1 of the raid coming out. You can even make it a 0.5 thing. You know, it came out a few weeks ago, maybe possibly. But there are items in the raid, whether they're rare items, you know, you've got things like the Rashanon Cloak, things like, you know, Sikron Neck, which everybody basically wants. You've got things like Queen Ansharek Ring, which is very good as well. A couple other things along the line, depending for melee or whatever, or just that trinket. It's been eluding you for a long time. Maybe it's a transmitter. Maybe it's, you know, a Mad Queen's Mandate. Spy Master. Everybody wants, right? I think adding a system into the game, you know, we had bonus rolls in the past, which I actually like bonus rolls a lot. They were a lot of fun. But at the same time, like, maybe bonus rolls aren't a thing that's going to come back. I wouldn't mind it personally. You get like 1 coin per week, max of 3. You can just bonus roll a boss every once in a while. I think it was fun rerunning Heroic week 1 of the raid coming out, you know, before Mythic was released, to coin a boss. Who wants to coin Silken Cord again for a Spy Master? Somebody rolled it. That's sick. That's a lot of fun, right? That's very cool. Keeps you engaged in the game, running things past the first lockout, right? Now, I get that splits are a thing. Not as much of a big deal anymore, but still, I think it's cool. I think Dinars being in the game, maybe in a 0.5 patch, or maybe even like whenever you kill a boss in a raid for Heroic and Mythic, you know, different currencies for each difficulty, right? Similar to Crests, you know, different Crests for different difficulties. You get a currency. And maybe they can math it out to a certain point, or maybe after like a month or 3 weeks, whatever, you can take those currencies based on like, you know, killing, I don't know, how many bosses are even in the raid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, right? Yeah, 8 bosses. Maybe you have like 30 of a currency or 25 of a currency. Sure, that's probably fine. Of Heroic. So that's 3 weeks, give or take. Technically, it'd be, well, it'd be like probably 3 weeks if you're sitting some bosses, whatever. It'd be 8, 16, 32, but you get what I'm saying. Every 2.5 weeks, however you want to word it, right? You can take those coins or those bullions, those dinars, and buy an item. Maybe you make it, you know, actually be more Florida math. It'd be, yeah, 8, 16, 24. Jeez, it's late. It's 5 in the morning. Give me a break. 8, 16, 24. It'd be basically 3 weeks, right? Maybe you want to make it a month. Maybe make it 32 coins, but make it, give the player some way to target an item. Because there are players, even when it came to being a warlock, even when it came to last expansion in Dragonflight, that never ended up getting the rare class trinket from Echo Neltharion. And whether you're a warlock or a evoker or a shaman or a mage or whatever, having an item especially like this, which is based around certain classes, or whether it's a base item that your class needs to function, to feel great, feels like you're playing with, you know, 3 out of 4 pieces of tier. You don't feel complete at times, you know, in a sense where if you're missing like, you know, an Ansharek Ring or a Spy Master or whatever. And obviously early on, loot luck is RNG. That's why splits are run in a higher setting. Why just RNG is RNG. When you're in late farm and you still don't have a Call to Dominance or you still don't have a Spy Master or whatever, it feels bad. And I think strides could be made to alleviate that. And once again, having it cost 24 dinars, 25 dinars, 32, whatever, so on and so forth, keeps players engaged in the game, working towards that carrot on a string. Back in whatever expansion, Valor was around, right? I knew that like my BIS item was, you know, X from the vendor, right? Maybe I can get some item on the side here. Maybe to a similar extent, you know, yeah, I can get it from the boss to drop, but I know regardless in 3 weeks or a month, even if it doesn't drop in the raid for me, I can buy it from the vendor and have that BIS item, and that's exciting. Having people be able to work towards something if they want. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. You don't got to get the Dinars, it's fine. You know, keep killing the boss and not getting any loot, it's okay. But point being, having something like that in game, I think it'd be fun. People enjoy Dinars, people enjoy Bullions. You make it require 3 weeks or a month to, you know, get enough for an item. You can't even abuse it in the race world first. But once again, it's impactful, it feels good, and it keeps players playing the game into a mid patch, into a late patch. And that's what I think all of this video is about. I love War Within. I think it's great. It's a lot of fun, but it makes me sad my friends stop playing due to Crest or their Great Vault or gearing or their raid or M+. And I think a lot of these solutions are there. They just need to be done. You know, I don't work for Blizz, obviously. They're smarter than I am by a long shot. I want this to be seen as like constructive feedback, not like, you know, toxicity at all. So I'm not trying to be. I love the game. I played it for 20 years. I'm 33. I got no life. I love this game. want it to be good. And with these changes, maybe some of them, maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I think the game could be a lot better. So thanks for watching, guys. It wraps it up. Hopefully the video wasn't too long. I don't know how long I yapped here, but hopefully you guys, I guess maybe can relate a little bit to this when it comes to like just wanting to play WoW, but not really knowing what to do, or really having like the drive to play, even though you want to play based around current systems. When it comes to gearing, we talked about it a bunch. I mean, Crest acquisition, I have to run 120 keys now to max out my Gilded Crest on an alt. That is way worse than an AP grind ever was in BFA or Legion, if you want to do all that, for the most part, right? When it comes to the Great Vault, I mean, with sockets being a thing from the auction house on jewelry, it's become very irrelevant really fast. And I'd love to have that system where you can take, you know, an item that's like hero track to myth track, or champion to hero, by spending the balloons, coins, whatever they are, from the vault to, you know, make items you can farm from plus, eventually myth. I think that'd be great. It'll keep the vault relevant long term in the later part of the expansion, so on and so forth. Obviously, alts, you know, the gearing grind on all them, and M+ being the thing with key depletion, just the general lack of interest from a lot of parts of the community has shown over the past few weeks and months. And all I want to do in this video is draw attention to this stuff. I think the game is fun. I enjoy it. I'm trying to give constructive feedback. I'm not bashing it at all. I still enjoy playing. Whether it's my job or not, I'd be playing it regardless. But I want the game to be as fun, as exciting as possible. And I think there's a great structure, general skeleton of what could be great here. I think it's still fun, but some changes could be made to be able to gear your alts through your main, to be able to play alts in a later part of an expansion, level it up and gear it without spending 2 months running M+, right? The Great Vault could be relevant still at this point for, you know, even like your main in a sense, but trying to get niche pieces of gear, right? M+ could be more exciting than it is with some changes made. Depletion, I don't know why I'm still here, but hopefully this video helps out, maybe. At least hopefully y'all agree with it. Like I said at the start, let me know what y'all think on these suggestions and things down below in the comment section. I'm very, very curious to get y'all's takes on it and stuff. Yeah, and all that. Like always, a massive shout out to my patrons for all supporting Patreon, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys looking supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below and all that. But you know, without y'all support, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So this video, a bit different from usual, not Warlock based, but I wanted to make it for a long time. I love this game. And I want it to be great. Great. It's good. I want it to be great. I want to wake up every day wanting to play WoW. And I have that feeling sort of now. When I sit down and actually do it, I don't know if it actually is. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you again soon. Peace.